皆さん、こんにちは。香川博です。本を書いたり、原稿を書いたりするとき、山癖洋二というペンネームを使うこともあります。よろしくお願いします。今日はですね、アンドリュー・ロビンスさんに登場いただきました。理由はですね、アンドリュー・ロビンスさんは、非常にね、システムエンジニアでもあったし、それからいわゆるアメリカでのいろんなね、SNS だとか、そういうことについて大変詳しい。それだけではなくて、日本の事情もよくご存知で、我々よく一緒に仕事をしてるんですよね。で、そういう中で、今回ご存知のようにね、イーロン・マスクさんがツイッター買いましたよね。で、これって世界中で反響を呼びました。この背景についてね、聞いてみたいと思うんですよ。で、その中でね、特に SNS での民主主義、つまりデモクラシーって何だろうと。つまり、イーロン・マスクさんがそういうことをずっと強調して言ってますよね。このことについて、さらに聞いてみたいと思います。よろしいでしょうか。じゃあ、楽しみに聞いてくださいね。Hi, Andrew.
Hi, how are you?
Well, as I told you, just recently, Elon Musk, purchased Twitter. And of course, he said that he did not do it before for the first time, but actually he changed his mind.
Yeah.
Would you tell me what is the kind of a behind the scene of this whole action?
Well, it's all very strange because he says he didn't buy Twitter to make more money. He said I did it to try to help humanity, whom I love, which is an interesting thing to say, seeing as just a few days after he bought Twitter, he fired half the staff.
Oh, yeah.
But so my personal opinion, why do billionaires do anything? I think it's as simple as that. It's to get more get more money or more power or more influence, which gets you then more money and more power or more influence.
That means he said that money is a power.
Of course. Yeah.
I see. But he rejected for the first time because Twitter, there are not a lot of invisible or strange things is going on inside the Twitter. That is why he said he could not trust to purchase it. That is why he canceled
right.
it. Why?
You always have to be careful with what Elon says, because what he says and how he acts are often very different things. So what he says is that Twitter misrepresented how it measures how many spam bots they have, how many bots are just churning out information. And the reason is that these bots are essentially useless insofar as advertising revenue is concerned. However, I don't know if that was actually misrepresented. Recently, an analyst pointed out that Musk's takeover of Twitter was one of the most overpaid tech acquisitions in the history of management mergers and acquisition deals on Wall Street. So my opinion is that Elon woke up, realized he was going to be overpaying for Twitter and wanted to find a way out. So then why did he go back in? I don't think he really had a choice. So he was going to be sued. And I think he knew he was going to lose. Now, if he lost, there was going to be, so he was going to be forced to close the deal, and he would also have to pay interest payments on top of the original payments. So he would have ended up having to pay even more than the already inflated cost of Twitter.
That means Elon Musk calculated the risk and the balance of kind of profit. Then if he said that he will reject it, he has to pay a lot of money as a compensation. That is why he decided to buy, you mean?
Well, no, I don't know. I think that might have been part of it, but there was also, he was going to go to trial, and he was probably going to lose. And he was going to have to pay interest on top of the payments to purchase Twitter, as I understand it. So he would have just had to pay even more, and he would still get Twitter.
I see. So that means he calculated what is the profit or what is the loss. That is the kind of things motivated him to move ahead.
I guess so. I don't know how well he calculated it, but he did some calculations.
Well, interesting news happened just recently. On the other hand, on the Twitter, on the other hand, he mentioned about the Starlink cannot be made because nobody is supporting it. And then Starlink is a crucial issue for the Ukrainian people to maintain their kind of, how can I say, maintain the war activities against
That's
Russia.
right.
And
Yeah.
also, it was, Elon Musk who said that he would cooperate it based on the kind of, because he said that he cannot stand against the Russian activities. So, but now he's talking about similar, it's a kind of similarity of a trend I can see. Twitter's case, he rejected and he purchased it, and he say, but on the Starlink, he says he will support it, and but actually now he's jeopardizing it. How about that?
Yeah, well, in fact, just yesterday or the day before, I heard that 1,300 Starlink satellites or 1,300 SpaceX satellites that are used with Starlink went down. I don't know how long they went down, and I don't know if it was a willful action or if there was just some bug or something. But it is a frightening coincidence. You know, Elon likes the spotlight. And he's said in Twitter that he likes the spotlight. And I think having attention on him basically increases his bottom line. This is how he profits. The more people who are paying attention, the easier it is for him to profit. Now, I think it's dangerous, risky. I think it's completely irresponsible to do something like this in wartime. But I don't know how much Elon really cares.
Well, but actually, that is, how can I say, damage of the reputation of himself. In that case, risk is higher if he can calculate it.
Well, there is potentially damage to his reputation, but then you have to look at, I hate to bring up Trump, but we have to bring up Trump, because I don't think he cares one way or another about his reputation. He cares about the spotlight, and he takes advantage of that spotlight.
Well, so yeah, that's a quite interesting subject, because in a Starlink and also Twitter, I can see the similar trend. But I tell you, Twitter's case, he's always mentioning about the democracy of SNS, and then based on that, he said that it was a bad idea to ban Trump's Twitter. After particularly January 6th event. And then what is the concept of democracy of SNS particularly, and in terms of the Twitter? Do you have any idea or like a news or opinions?
Well, again, we should start with what he said, and then what he did. He said that Trump shouldn't be banned, but Trump is still banned. That hasn't changed. It's interesting. He said that he didn't want to allow Twitter to devolve into a free-for-all hellscape. But he also said that he wants he calls himself a free speech absolutionist. Basically, he says that freedom of expression is the bedrock of a functioning democracy. Those are his words. And he said that his desire to buy Twitter was motivated by basically he wanted to let users say whatever they want within the confines of the law. Now, this is what he said. But then you have to look at his actions, right? So there was a major ruling by the NLRB, that's the National Labor Relations Board, and it held that Tesla violated employees' free speech rights by suppressing their ability to support a union drive at work. And so this was in I don't know if you know Slate. It wrote that Musk's company was so eager to quash free expression that managers created dishonest and pretextual justifications to punish workers who conveyed a pro-union message. So Elon says, yes, I'm a free speech abolitionist. Free speech is the way, democracy, yes. But then in his own company, he says, no, free speech, I don't think so.
Well, that's case, Twitter's case, and also Starlink's case, it's a typical Elon Musk's kind of trend of the managing the business, you mean?
Yeah.
Tell me, because he rejected to purchase Twitter for the first time because there are a lot of unknown things he mentioned, and which means like first of all, SNS world, it's interesting because Twitter never make a profit, right? And then that is a kind of point which Elon Musk mentioned, because because Twitter could not make a profit. Then why? Because a lot of mismanagement. That is the kind of point which he's talking about for the first time. And it is true, or are there any different opinions?
Well, there's been wide speculation in Silicon Valley and on Wall Street that Twitter has been grossly mismanaged, and that if somebody went in and restructured it, there was a high potential for profit. Will Elon be able to do that? I don't know. You know, I personally think his approach is a little bit too impulsive. I think he could have spent a little bit more time, you know, going through the departments and seeing what might stay and what might go, rather than saying, oh, you know what, the entire executive team out, the entire almost the entire content moderation team out, which I have to point out real quick as an aside. It is incredibly irresponsible to fire the content moderation team right now. As you know, in 3 days, it's the US 2022 midterm elections. This is the time when we most need content moderation, but Elon doesn't care about that. He just goes in, he says, nope, everybody out, you know.
Yeah, content moderation. Content moderation means like how to manage the contents, which is, particularly midterm election and the Elon Musk's decision, contents moderations issue, that is really like a strangely connected, of course. Are there any intention of him to doing that right now in these timings?
Well, you know, I think he enjoys having Republican backers, and if Republicans take the House and the Senate, that's probably good for him. So it's good business for Elon. As I said, I think everything he does is fundamentally a business decision. Business
decision, I see. Now, going back to the business decision, then do you think like a Twitter could not make a profit? This is again, you know, same question, but do you think, how can I say, why? Because of the mismanagement, or are there any really mismanagement happened at that time before?
You know, I don't have enough information to make a good analysis about that. But I do have information about what he's going to be doing going forward. There are things that Elon says. There's some things that some people at the company have said. So I'll just give you a little bit of information about that. I'm going to read first a tweet that Elon, a series of tweets that Elon wrote. Before I do that, so you understand, in Twitter right now, there's the blue check, right? And the blue check says that you are verified, you are basically somebody important. So he writes on Twitter, Twitter's current lords and peasants system for who has or doesn't have a blue check mark is bull. He says the price, he says power to the people, let's make blue for $8 a month, and then the price adjusted by country proportionate to purchasing power. You will also get priority in replies, mentions and search, which is essential to defeat spam and scams, ability to post long videos and audio, and half as many ads. Ooh, half as many. So it's funny because he says the lords and peasant system is no good, but then he goes and says, we're going to have a new lords and peasant system, a new pay-to-play system. So it's ridiculous, but it may work. It's hard to say. So will people pay $8 a month to get that little blue check? Maybe. Will having more people have access to that blue check help defeat spam? Yeah, again, maybe. We really don't know. Beyond that, do you remember there was a social networking service called Vine?
Vine?
Yeah.
Tell me.
So this was years ago. It predates TikTok and all of these things. It was, if I remember right, it was essentially 6-second videos.
Okay.
That was the limit.
I see.
And I guess Twitter bought it, but they haven't done anything with it. So there's a Twitter insider, somebody who survived the mass firings, and he says that they're talking about bringing back Vine, basically to compete with TikTok and things like that.
Mhm. I see. Yeah, basically, still, I'm using Twitter, but I am, in case of Japanese language, only 140 letters are which is limited. Of course, I can attach a movie or I can attach any kind of image, but talking about letter, it is 140 only. And that is also controversial point of that. I mean, in case of the Facebook, of course, I can write as long as I can, whether people can read or not. But it's my freedom to do that.
Yeah, it's possible that blue check, if you pay for the blue check, you might be able to write longer messages.
I see.
There are all sorts of possibilities here. Who can say if any of them will work? And so back to the basic question: was it management that was the problem, or was it just a failure to monetize the system that's a problem? I don't know. I should point out one other thing. Elon is a big fan of cryptocurrencies and especially talking about cryptocurrencies. And it's entirely possible that he will try and integrate some sort of cryptocurrencies into the new Twitter, whether it's in the form of NFTs or possibly allowing people to get paid for certain posts or pay for certain posts. I don't know. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if he tries to make a big cryptocurrency push.
That kind of activity can be coordinated with government, which means what I meant is government controls the money, right? And the cryptocurrency's idea is more like a freedom of kind of creating money. And then Elon Musk's idea, you say that Elon Musk wants control, and but actually there are contradiction I can feel if he can talk about cryptocurrency as well as Twitter.
Yeah, it's a difficult question. I don't know if we have enough time to go into the nitty gritty. Yes, government wants to control money, which is why the crypto exchanges in the US anyway have to be licensed to a certain degree. And I don't know if it depends on the state or if it's at the federal level. I'm not sure, but there are licensing procedures. So Twitter would need to have appropriate licenses in each country. Now maybe it's a little bit off topic, but you mentioned that cryptocurrencies are supposed to make money more free, right? Originally, yes, but that was the fundamental idea behind Bitcoin. But I think there are too many institutional investors now to allow that to happen for the big ones like Bitcoin and Ether. I think there are smaller cryptocurrencies where it is more about the freedom of money, but there are a lot of people who have a lot to gain and a lot to lose, so it's a complicated conversation.
I see. Well, let's go back, as a conclusion, let's go back to the so-called that case of democracy in SNS. Okay, now in Japan we have a so-called Ni channel, which is a channel 2. Can I say if I translate it in English? But that is a kind of people can say whatever they want inside the channel, and then even racist, even how can I say, super liberal or super conservative, whatever it is, and even people can deform other people in channel. And in the United States, there are 4chan, similar
4chan,
kind of system, right?
That's right, very similar.
Yeah, and Elon Musk say democracy of Twitter means Twitter can be like Ni channel or 4chan in future.
I don't think he said that specifically, unless you have information otherwise. I think that's the impression he was trying to give. But you have to go back to Twitter's to Elon's bottom line, to profit. So right before, or maybe right after the acquisition, GM decided to pull all of their advertising from Twitter.
Wow.
And a few days after that, I'm sure you know about the incident where Nancy Pelosi's husband was attacked.
Exactly.
So yes, it was terrible. But even also what was terrible was that soon after, Elon posted he retweeted an article that was basically a conspiracy theory about the attack on her husband, and it was totally baseless. So
conspiracy theory means like a Democrat did it, you mean?
Oh, I don't know the details, but it was on a right-wing
Okay.
page. So probably, yeah, probably
Okay.
Democrats or Antifa or whatever strange conspiracy they have this time. So there's sort of a tenuous balance here. So he's going to have to figure out if he wants to profit or if he wants to support free speech across the board, like Nichaneru or 4chan, and the answer is going to be profit.
Okay.
So he will have some sort of content moderation.
Now, finally, final question, which is, your opinion. I would like to have.
You got
because,
it.
Like a Nichannel or a 4chan, it's a so-called a democracy can be allowed in the SNS, no matter whatever he or she can speak. Or are there any limitations or control must be needed? Well, just I have a question.
Well, there are laws against certain kinds of hate speech, and those laws are different in different countries. So there have to be limits. And then it's also a question of what's profitable. I don't know what Nichaneru or 4chan's profit models are, but I don't see Twitter going in that direction. It just doesn't make sense to me. I think there are much more interesting things that Elon could do with Twitter. Whether he does them, I don't know. But there are yeah. Twitter in and of itself is a useful tool. It's been great for for activists, for getting live news from places like Ukraine. It has fantastic uses. I sincerely hope that Elon doesn't destroy that.
Okay, got it. Well, it is quite an interesting situation right now. So thank you very much for your opinion and the information. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, goodbye.
Take care.